All right, you guys, let's get into this. First of all, welcome. And if you haven't yet, please do subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up to like it, and make sure that when you subscribe, you hit the red bell for notifications. And then let's get into this. Again, thanks for being here. This from Waking Times. It's a little bit of a different subject for me that I, would normally talk about, but it is something that's been on my radar. I've studied it off and on for the past several years, and I do think it's an important subject for people to get out there, for people to understand, and for people to take action on, actually. And a little bit more regarding the effects and what this is all about. The pineal gland is basically a gland that is at the center of the brain, if I understand it correctly. And if my computer will allow me to here, I'm going to pull up a few different images for you to help you to understand. And you'll find that, if you look into pineal gland and just look at some of the images that Google will bring up, and you're going to see a few of them here, but you'll see that there's a lot of connection between the pineal gland and pine cones as the representation of the pineal gland. The pineal gland is also known in the spiritual sense as the third eye, and it is, in my opinion, and from what I've studied and the opinions of many others, it is the connection to the soul, between the body and spirit, so to speak. As this infographic says, and I'm not sure if you can see it there without me being zoomed in on it, but how you think and feel every day depends on the pineal gland. It is at the geometric center, geometric center of our brain, and is intimately linked to our body's perception of light. The pineal gland has many of the same characteristics as our eyes do. It does respond to light and dark, and those do affect your mood through melatonin and serotonin release to the brain. The pineal gland, represented as a pine cone, is a sacred symbol throughout history in almost every culture around the world. 17th century philosopher and scientist René Descartes, dedicating much time to the study of the pineal gland, called it the principal seat of the soul. He said it was the link between the physical and spiritual world. This was in the 1600s. How do you activate the pineal gland? And there's a lot more here. You find the images, like I said, on Google Images, and research some of this yourself. Don't just take my word for it. I would always recommend that people do their own research, use your discernment. Some of what I say might resonate with you, some of it might not. The parts that do, follow that trend. Get out and into the sun. The sun stimulates the mind, and it produces serotonin, the neurotransmitter responsible for mood and energy levels. Sleep in complete darkness, and then meditation. Today, the pineal gland is associated with the sixth chakra, considered the most powerful and highest source of ethereal energy available to humans, capable of seeing beyond space and time. Very important stuff here. If you start to put the pieces together, connect the dots, and that's what we're about here. One of the greatest resources that I found a few years back is the Fluoride Alert Network. The Fluoride Alert Network is an excellent source for just about anything related to fluoride, and the Fluoride Action Network does a lot of great work. They're helping to rid very quickly, actually, a lot of municipalities using fluoride in drinking water. So the tap water that you drink at your house most likely has fluoride added to it in the plant where they process and filter the water that's sent out to the public. And again, here you'll see pointless, it's a health risk. That's an article on the Fluoride Action Network, fluoridealert.org. And again, I would resource this. I would subscribe to their newsletter. I would pay attention to their website for news. They, again, are doing a lot of great work towards ridding a lot of areas around the world, actually, of fluoride. And you can see here with some of these quick facts, 97% of Western Europe has rejected water fluoridation. Wonder why, okay? Fluoride is not a nutrient, and many children now exceed the recommended daily fluoride intake from toothpaste alone. There are a lot of articles, and there are dentists actually that have said, and here you can read this here, a recent letter in the Calgary Herald signed by 22 dentists, doctors, academics, and periodontists claimed more than 3,000 peer-reviewed studies demonstrate that fluoridation is effective and support its safety. Now, if you're looking at that and you're saying, well, they're supporting it, well, of course, they're dentists, they're doctors. How do they make money? If they said that fluoride is, bad for you, it's actually a toxic chemical, then how would they be making money? Just like the toothpaste companies. And yes, there are toothpastes out there that don't have fluoride in them. Actually, InfoWars store carries a brand that is exactly that, fluoride free. Back to the Waking Times article here by Sire G. Hope I'm not that name. The discovery, research published in 2001 showed that fluoride F deposits in the pineal gland with age and is associated with enhanced gland calcification. Pineal gland calcification. 11 aged cadavers were dissected and their pineal glands assayed. And this is a quote from the study. There was a positive correlation between pineal F, fluoride, and pineal Ca, calcium. And there's the little formula there. But no correlation between pineal F and bone F. By old age, the pineal gland has readily accumulated F, which is fluoride, and its fluoride-calcium ratio is higher than bone. This is the pineal gland. This is the third eye. This is your third eye being blocked, is really what it gets down to. And if you want to, bottom line it, that is where we're headed here. This is not the first research to implicate fluoride in contributing to so-called ectopic calcification or the calcification of soft tissue. We addressed this in a previous report on the potential for fluoride to calcify the arteries. What is the pineal gland? Pineal gland is a small endocrine gland in the vertebrate brain and is sometimes called the third eye, as it is a light-sensitive, centrally located organ with cellular features resembling the human retina. The human retina in your eye. One article describes the role of the pineal gland in more technical terms here. And I'll read the quote. The role of the non-visual photoreception is to synchronize periodic functions of living organisms to the environmental light periods in order to help survival of various species in different biotopes. The pineal gland is best known for its role in producing the hormone melatonin from serotonin, triggered by the absence of light, and affects wake-sleep patterns and seasonal circadian rhythms. Circadian rhythms affect your sleep pattern and basically are the rhythm of when you sleep, when you don't sleep, so on and so forth. Like a tiny pea-sized pine cone, it is located near the center of the brain between the two hemispheres and is a unique brain structure in the brain barrier. This may also explain why it is uniquely sensitive to calcification via fluoride exposure. More than an endocrine gland, technically, the mammalian pineal gland is neural tissue, and the cells within the pineal gland, the pinealocytes, characteristics that resemble the photoreceptor cells in the retina. This has given rise to the opinion that it should be reclassified. And I quote from a study, "In our opinion, the main trend of today's literature on pineal functions, only considering the organ as a common endocrine gland, deviates from this structural and histochemical basis." End quote. The pineal gland has been a subject of much interest since ancient times. Galen described it in the 3rd century, and the philosopher René Descartes, from 1596 to 1650, identified the pineal gland as this quote-unquote seat of the soul. His explanation for this conclusion is quite interesting. And he said, "My view is that this gland is the principal seat of the soul, and the place in which all our thoughts are formed. The reason I believe this is that I cannot find any part of this which is not double. Since we see only one thing with 2 eyes, and hear only one voice with 2 ears, and in short have never more than one thought at a time, it must necessarily be the case that the impressions which enter by the 2 eyes or by the 2 ears and so on unite with each other in some part of the body before being considered by the soul. Now it is impossible to find any such place in the whole head except this gland. Moreover, it is situated in the most suitable possible place for this purpose, in the middle of all the concavities, and it is supported and surrounded by the little branches of the carotid arteries which bring the spirits into the brain." Descartes was one of the few philosophers who was experienced in anatomy and who pointed out the unique nature of the pineal gland's location in the brain and blood supply, which is absolutely amazing if you think about it, because that was in the 1600s, early 1700s. The third eye is also a well-known symbol in Eastern literature and may be concretely grounded in the anatomical structure and function of the pineal gland. Calcium stones in the brain. Pineal gland calcifications upon dissection resemble gravel and are composed of calcite, calcium carbonate, and or calcium hydroxylapatite. I'm butchering this. The latter which is not unlike dentin or bone. Pineal gland calcification is associated with a number of diseases in the medical literature, and this is where I would strongly suggest that we pay even more attention. Alzheimer's disease, bipolar disease, circadian dysregulation, hormone imbalances, low melatonin, low back pain, Parkinson's disease, schizophrenia, sleep disorders, and stroke, and I'm sure there are more. You can find the link here in this article. Again, this is at wakingtimes.com. Fluoride, therapeutic, quote-unquote, neurotoxin. That's the question. Now that it's been established that fluoride exposure contributes to the calcification of the pineal gland, the question remains, what are the subjective effects of these tissue changes to those who undergo them? Prozac may represent an archetypal example of how fluoride affects the personality/soul. This drug, chemical name fluoxetine, is approximately 30% fluoride by weight and marketed as an antidepressant, even while a major side effect of its use and or withdrawal is suicidal depression. It makes absolutely no sense to me, and it probably won't to you either. However, how many people do you know that eat Prozac? Think about that. Modern psychiatry often treats depressive disorders, the dark night of the soul, as an organic disorder of the brain, targeting serotonin reuptake by any chemical means necessary. Fluoride and fluoxetine, in fact, may accomplish their intended quote-unquote therapeutic effects by poisoning the pineal gland. Poisoning the pineal gland. Animal studies confirm that when mice have their pineal glands removed, they no longer respond to fluoxetine. Very interesting. Perhaps the primary reason why Prozac causes a favorable reaction in those who are treated, poisoned, with it, is that it disassociates that person from the psychospiritual conflicts that they must normally experience of sanity and functionality in society. For example, it is control and not health, and other sources of fluoride in our environment deposits within the pineal gland, accelerating the transformation of functional pineal tissue into calcification of those who are under its influence. And now the article goes into how do we prevent pineal gland calcification. Eliminating exposure to fluoride is the #1 priority. We can start by being careful about surreptitious forms of fluoride in Teflon, foods and beverages produced with municipal water, tap water, infant formula, fluoride-containing drugs like Prozac, toothpaste, etc. I would say also look very closely at the bottled water that you drink. I found even bottled water that my family drinks, because we don't drink tap water, except on a very rare occasion. But I found that the bottled water that we drink actually contains a dose of fluoride that is higher than many of the other bottled waters that are out there that contain fluoride. And back to the natural substances which mitigate fluoride toxicity. We also have a section on our database dedicated to finding substances which prevent or reverse other forms of pathological calcification which may have relevance for pineal gland calcification, such as ectopic calcification. Again, refer back to wakingtimes.com. Lastly, there is research on the potential value of magnesium and phytate in reducing pineal gland calcification. A lot of people have heard about the magnesium supplements, and this would be a great tie-in for that if you're interested in decalcifying your pineal gland. Fluoride has a wide range of adverse effects. We've indexed over 60 diseases linked to this ubiquitous toxicant on the Green Med research presented here. One new way of describing its adverse effects is as a calcifier of the soul. Great article. And again, I would say images and even further information regarding the pineal gland. I'm going to allow you to go down that rabbit hole a little bit further. I've given a few little tips in there regarding how the pineal gland has been represented as a pine cone. You'll find it in the Vatican. You'll find it on staffs that have been used throughout time. You'll find it in ancient Egypt and all over the world. So it's just something for people to look at, to share, to become aware of. It is part of the awakening. You're basically covered over, blocked by fluoride and I'm sure other toxins that we take in on a daily basis, most people. But we lose that connection to the soul. And I think it's important right now, probably more than ever, for us to have that connection to the soul. We need to be connected. We need to be rising up. We need that aspect for our ascension to the next level. Let me read this real quick. Throughout the span of recorded human history, pine cones have served as a symbolic representation of human enlightenment. And that's what I'm talking about. The third eye and the pineal gland. Conifer pine trees are one of the most ancient plant genera on the planet, having than all flowering plant species. I find that interesting, very interesting actually. And I'm not sure how that is part of God's design, but I am sure that somehow it is. Nonetheless, let's spread the word about this. Let's get the word out. Let's become more active about ending wrongs like this, because it is wrong for them to put fluoride in our drinking water. And I know there are going to be people who say, well, fluoride helps, with your teeth and keeps your teeth strong, and look into that, because I guarantee you'll find that there are a lot of dentists out there who basically will tell you that no, that absolutely is not the case. Anyway, this is Brian with AwakeningRevolution.net. Again, please like, share, subscribe.